All right, welcome back into the podcast. Very excited for this guest. He has been nice enough to join us, I think, every year the last 3 or 4 years, whether he's got a book going or just to talk about Justin Fields and the explosion we have seen in the Chicago Bears offense. He is from The Athletic, Adam Jahns, and of course, the Hogan Johns podcast. You know him well. He joins us now. Adam Bill Zimmerman, how are you?
Good, Bill. Maybe one day we'll be writing a book about Justin Fields.
Hey, you never know. If that's what's so exciting here, Adam, is none of us know, and that's what I was saying kind of in the opening of my podcast. We don't know what Justin Fields is. And I say that in a positive way. We don't know if he is going to be like Derek Carr, but with better movement and better, mobility, or if he's going to be in that Mahomes Allen category in a couple of years. We're seeing a dynamic quarterback. We're seeing something we've never seen in Chicago sports on the football field. And I can't only imagine what it's like for you being able to be at Soldier Field and at road games and watching what we've seen develop here over the last month of the season.
I think what we know, though, is that he could play and succeed and be the reason the Bears win or become or get close to winning, right? They have not won. They did not beat the Dolphins, but Justin Fields' success changes the conversation. But he's starting to look like that quarterback. And I know this is a cliche, and it's said all the time, but he's starting to look like that quarterback that you can win because of, not just with. Like Mitch Trubisky was a quarterback you win with, not always because of. The Bears are averaging more than 30 points, Bill, over the last 3 weeks. 30, yeah, right? I'm looking at you smiling right now.
31.3, yep.
It's crazy to think that. This is the Chicago Bears, but they're averaging that many points because of Justin Fields. Not because of a system, not because of head coach and what he's doing, but because Justin Fields is the best player on the field and looking that way on Sundays. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. And look, no one I think is going to objectively look at the Chicago Bears offense from a talent perspective and say they are loaded. This is not, Darnell Mooney can play. Cole Kmet's been flashing the last couple of weeks. We understand. And now obviously Claypool and Jenkins has developed. We're seeing some development on the offense, but this isn't a loaded offensive unit by any means. What we're seeing is Justin Fields carrying an offense because he's so dynamic. I mean, Mike McDaniel yelling "stop it" to him on the sideline, and McDaniel's great for the league, but it's that kind of thing. Bill Belichick didn't have an answer. The Dallas Cowboys defense did not have an answer. McDaniel and the Dolphins did not have an answer because of what he's able to do. And yeah, sure, defenses are going to spy on him now, and they're going to put a spy on him regularly. But like I was saying, that feels like you're wasting a defender, not just because they're not in the pass game, but because you can't tackle Justin Fields one-on-one in the open field anyway.
Yeah.
But what else are you going to do to try and stop the way he's playing right now?
You can have a rush plan for him, but you know what? If that rush plan fails to contain him, or that rusher, let's look at Bradley Chubb, gets to him and can't bring him down because he's too strong, too fast, too athletic, well, then you got problems. If you want to spy him, that spy, it's got to be damn fast, be able to move laterally all over the field, because Justin Fields can do that. He can run through you too. He's that type of athlete. Matt Eberflus, I love this description. He called it unscripted athleticism, like things you can't plan for, things that not all quarterbacks can have. Like, this is where I'm at with Justin Fields. If the rushing yards that Josh Allen produces, that Jalen Hurts produces, that Lamar Jackson produces, if those are good things for those offenses, then this is a great thing for the Bears offense. If backyard football-like plays are a good thing for Patrick Mahomes, they could be for Justin Fields and the Bears offense as well. You know why? Because that means your best player is your quarterback. Your best playmaker is your quarterback. The Bears have that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the running plays right now, for the most part, is what's hitting the highlight reels. You get 60-yard touchdown runs out of your quarterback when he's about to throw the football, realizes the receiver's not looking, tucks it down, and just the acceleration he had blowing by that Dolphins defense is just something to behold. But the process we're seeing in the passing game as well, I think, is significantly improved. He, through progressions, decisions he's making, calls he's making at the line of scrimmage, like Emmanuel Acho brought up, the play, the incomplete pass he threw to Darnell Mooney in the end zone, but, brought it up as, this is development. This is a guy who came up to the defense, saw what they were going to give, saw that he was going to get Mooney one-on-one, and told Mooney to go for it and try to connect. Like, he's a big play hunter. We know he's going to keep that mentality. So he's going to look deep a lot before he looks short. And I think Getsy's kind of working with him on that to say, you got to excel in the short game as well. And we're seeing that. We're seeing smarter decisions. We're seeing quicker decisions. And I think where he was in the passing, forget what we're seeing with the highlights, running the ball and the weapon he's becoming. But in the passing game, where he was, say, against Houston versus what we're seeing now the last couple of weeks in those decisions, and where he could have been if he had a more talented offense that didn't have, like the Velus Jones drop the week before and Brown and what he, like, they could be even better. And I think that's also exciting, is seeing the quarterback learn and grow in terms of how he's processing the game.
The most sobering thing about like all the things we're talking about, all these exciting things, is that the Bears still have the worst passing offense in the league, but there's so much context to that. It's the offensive line. It's the starters of that bad offensive line getting hurt. It's adding new receivers in week 8. It's having new guys come in and out of the lineup, in various roles. It's everybody learning a new offense under Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy learning how to be a better play caller.
Sure.
There's so much nuance to this. That's like, if you're just looking at the stats and the Bears have a bad passing offense, but there's reasons for that. There's a lot of reasons for that. Even Justin Fields is part of that, holding the ball too long. Him explaining recently that he's feeling pressure that's not there because the protection has failed him at times. He's feeling things that aren't there, but he's overcoming that. His completion percentage has gone up. He threw an absolute dime to Darnell Mooney in the corner of the end zone. Like the Cole Kmet touchdown, the 18-yard run and score. That's a play that's been in the offense since the first day of training camp. That stuff is starting to click now, starting to slow down for him. It was always going to be a gradual process. The passing offense was always going to be a gradual process with new players coming in out, a new play caller, and just things to really figure out. Figure out what works for Justin Fields. Figure out what works for Darnell Mooney. And now Chase Claypool. It was always going to take time. Progress was going to be incremental, smaller. But now you got this exciting things happening with the unscripted athleticism. Like, that's game-changing stuff. And not all quarterbacks have that. Like, quarterbacks can get developed as passers. Experience helps them develop. He just needs to play to get that. But some of the things he's doing with his legs, those exciting plays we're just talking about, not every quarterback can provide that to their teams, but Justin Fields can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, look, the rest of this season, and look, I'm sure some Bears fans are sitting there going, look, 8 and 9 might make the playoffs. Maybe they can. I'm not looking at it that way. This is a developmental year. I think it's been pretty clear from the go that Ryan Poles was going to flip this roster and make things his own. But if they win or lose games, and like I always said, you can sit there and say tanking is better. You want the 5th, 6th pick. If you're not going to make the playoffs, you may as well have the 5th pick than the 15th pick. And I get all that, but I'm not one who can cheer against the team on Sundays and go, they only lost that one. I'm always going to cheer for this team to win. Yeah. So, I'm not going to sit there and hope Detroit pulls off a 41-38 miracle on Sunday. I want to see the Bears win games and build from that. But whether they win or lose these games the rest of the season, I just think there's going to be so much enjoyment for Bears fans to just watch this develop and see where it goes. And I think because of how the Bears have been historically, defensive oriented and things like that, and not quarterback oriented, even whether they've tried first round picks like Grossman or Trubisky, I think even if this team struggles to put wins, in the left column there in the standings, it's going to be fun to watch them over the last 10 games here.
At some point, you want all this fun, all this development from Justin Fields to produce wins. Like, there was a moment against the Dolphins where it was there. It's the deep ball to Chase Claypool that was pass interference that wasn't called. And then it's 4th down. Justin Fields scrambles and makes a hell of a throw to Equanimous St. Brown and goes right through his hands. That's a drop. That is a bad drop in a big-time situation for the Bears. But that's also like what you want to see from Fields. You want to see him make those plays in those situations where that development turns into wins. So if the Bears are going to be in this shootout, like I'm expecting the game against Detroit to be a shootout. Like the Bears defense isn't good, and Jared Goff, believe it or not, and the Lions, they can put up points. They can. So you want that development. You want the good things to turn into a good win. That is more confidence and that is more rewarding for that development than anything. I know you want the draft pick. I know you want the top 12 pick and all that stuff. I understand that philosophy on things, that argument. But isn't it better if that confidence grows into victories for the Bears and that starts and ends with the young quarterback? That in itself is more rewarding and more beneficial for the future than anything, I would think.
Yeah, look, no argument here. And, look, couple things to talk about besides Justin Fields on this team. And let me just get your opinion on the offensive line, because I think that's an interesting place to go. And forget about how they're going to perform the rest of the year. But what are you seeing from the offensive line in terms of the future building blocks? Like Tevin Jenkins's August was bizarre, right? And I don't know, exactly. No one seems to know exactly what was transpiring there. But, I saw a tweet from Brad Spielberger. He is the third ranked from grades, PFF grades, the third ranked guard over the last month. He's playing tremendously well. Braxton Jones is flashing things. Cody Whitehair is having a bounce back year. Age and contract, I don't know if he fits in long term still, but kind of, Lucas Patrick, when he's been on the field, not great. Sam Mustipher, I think, is what he is, playing pretty well. I think better than most Bears fans expected. But where are you with this offensive line in terms of what pieces you're seeing as potential starting pieces moving forward?
Well, you nailed it with Jenkins, right? There's a building block right there. Second round pick, second round talent, maybe first round talent if you didn't have the back issues coming out of Oklahoma State. You don't want to have wholesale changes. You don't want to go into the offseason as Ryan Poles and be like, oh, man, we need 5 offensive linemen. Because you know what, Bill? On defense, he's probably thinking right now, I need 5.
I need a new front seven.
I need a defensive line. I need a whole new front seven. Like, let's be honest. Like, the front seven needs some help. It needs some work in free agency, and it needs some help in the draft. So you're looking at your offensive line. You're like, okay, Braxton Jones, there's something there. Cody Whitehair, I got a lot of money. So what? Keep him on the books. Let's use him. He's played well. He's a team captain. Can't trade them all. Might as well keep this one, who seems to be fitting in the offensive line. And then Tevin Jenkins, we have something here. You can't, like, if you're Ryan Poles, like, you take those 3 players, you're like, okay, like, I'll take this 3 out of 5. And you know what? Maybe we had another draft pick. We signed another veteran who's not Riley Reef, and it increases competition elsewhere. Maybe we draft the center in the second round or third round to push Lucas Patrick. That's a better answer than what you're looking at defensively, where you're looking at needing 2 defensive ends, maybe 1 defensive tackle, and 3 linebackers for next season.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to touch on the defense before. And look, obviously, when you trade a talent like Roquan Smith, you're going to take a hit defensively. But Roquan Smith was on the field when they gave up nearly 50 points to Dallas.
True,
This defense, I really thought, Flus and Williams were squeezing. I didn't quite get why they weren't giving up second half points, basically. The whole was definitely better than the parts. But, now we're really kind of seeing the defense really kind of get exploited here, and not having Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, who wasn't doing much, but was drawing attention at least, obviously is going to lessen the amount of talent they have on the front seven. That's going to make the defense, the job even harder for them. But what has it been for you where the defense was able to make stops and at least turn the ball over on a punt versus, what we're seeing the last couple of weeks where it is basically first down after first down?
My bold prediction, and you can read this, here's a plug, you can read this in The Athletic later this week, is that like the most significant investment will come on the defensive line. Because I know there's rightfully an obsession about receiver and offensive line and even tight end and running back a bit because you have Justin Fields now to build around. But that defensive line, it all starts there. I think you have a good secondary right now with Brisker, Jackson, Gordon, and Jalen Johnson. Like, that is a good secondary. I'm not sure what you have at defensive line. Beyond Justin Jones, who has flashed at times, there's a reason why Roquan Smith wasn't putting up the numbers. It's because the defensive line just isn't good enough. It just isn't. It all starts there. You need to find some game changers up front. You need to find some pass rush up front. Tua had too much time. Jared Goff's going to have too much time. That starts up front. I'm all for blitzing guys, and I think Allen Williams should do more of it. But you need your front four to produce some type of pass rush. You're not thinking about blitzing all the time. So I think the defensive line right now stands out to me as probably the most problematic position that's going to go through some changes this offseason.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to finish with, was the kind of this off season, and you kind of answered some of it there. And look, I think there's absolutely going to be a focus on the offense. They're going to address wide receiver again. I don't know if they're going to go out and get another free agent. Kind of looking at it big picture, you're going to pay Mooney and Claypool something. I don't know if they're going to hit 20 million, but you're going to 16, 17, 18, maybe 20 million a piece. I don't know if they're going to have, go out and get another guy and have, 60, 50, $60 million at the wide receiver position. Maybe they need rookie contracts there. Maybe they look second round for a wide receiver. But I think they're definitely going to look veteran, to bring a veteran or two on the offensive line. And I think you nailed it. Someone like Daron Payne, something like that, to really bulk up defensively. And if they do lose a lot of games and have an opportunity with the, 5th, 6th, 7th pick, if someone's sitting there like Jalen Carter from Georgia, I think that is a 3 tech that would just make Flus drool. So I do think, and I have screamed since March that I wanted investment around Justin Fields. But I think when you look at the big picture of this team right now, that, I don't think they're going to, spend high picks, especially the way Eberflus answered the question about potentially taking Roquan Smith instead of Quentin Nelson, like he did last week, and just be, we wouldn't take an off-ball linebacker that high. I don't think they're going to address that type of position, but, going out and signing a quality edge, signing an interior defensive lineman and hitting those back up in the draft, I think there's going to be as much, if not more, of a focal point there than it will be infusing the offense with more talent as well.
And you know what? If there is still, I like the shift in resources towards the offense this year. I really did. Whether it's the drafting all the guys on day 3, all the offensive linemen that way, or it's trading for Chase Claypool this year, it's that investment needs to be maintained. But to your point, if you're tiering the positions from Ed Eberflus and that defense, it's the 3 tech tackle, it's the weak side linebacker, and it's the nickel, right? They have the nickel in Kyler Gordon. They need to go safety, and I think they have the safeties in Brisker and Jackson. You got to find that 3 technique, that disruptor. And Justin Jones has been fine, but maybe he's more of a rotational guy. Maybe he's not that true game changer that we've seen here in that 3 technique. It starts there. I really think it does.
Yeah, I agree. And look, Justin Fields, if this season continues as fun as it looks like it's going to be, wins or losses, and then the amount of money and draft picks coming in next year, I think there's going to be a lot, not just in Chicago. I think the national media is going to have some big expectations for the 2023 Chicago Bears. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Adam, thanks so much. Yeah, right. Something we're not used to, that's for sure, in Chicago. Adam, thanks so much for so much time. Really enjoyed the conversation. Make sure you guys all go out and read Adam on The Athletic, and of course the Hogan Johns podcast. Adam, thanks so much.
Thanks, Bill.